Welcome, everybody. This is the Rotary eClub of Silicon Valley, and every week we bring you the stories of people who are making the world better. This happens locally, globally, digitally, and in all sorts of ways that we think are interesting, such as through innovative approaches to service. We think entrepreneurship is an interesting way to get sustainable service to happen. We think cool education is a fantastic way to get people excited about what they're capable of doing and learn to enjoy the joy and meaning of serving others. We're part of Rotary International, 1.2 million people around the planet, about 36,000 clubs. And if you watch a lot of these, you might say, doesn't that number change a bit? They just give me new numbers all the time, but it's a lot of folks. Now, what we really want to do is we want you to know that these programs are designed to inspire you to see new possibilities in yourself. Sometimes that has to do with a great startup. Sometimes that has to do with an organization doing, really impactful work somewhere. Sometimes it's a personal story that's designed to help you see something important about your own health. And that is what we have today. Our speaker is one of our own in the Rotary eClub of Silicon Valley. It's Elton. And Elton is the good soul behind our podcasting effort. So if you are a Rotarian who listens to our programs each week on your commute, this is the guy to thank. And lots of hearts popping up on that front for good reason. But without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Elton. Elton, welcome to your club, the Rotary eClub of Silicon Valley.
Thank you, Rushton. This is a story about a stroke that changed my life and what I have since learned. There are two key messages, two takeaway messages today. The first, if you think you might be having a stroke, go immediately to the ER. Don't wait to see if your symptoms go away. And secondly, get your bad cholesterol, your LDL, below 70. 3 months before my stroke, I had been given a clean bill of health. My total cholesterol was labeled 194, normal and desirable. My LDL was 123. It turns out that what is normal for Americans is neither healthy nor desirable. 3 months after my clean bill of health, on the morning of December 4th, 2019, shortly after 7 a.m., I had a stroke that left the right side of my body partially paralyzed. My daughter quickly drove me to the Stanford ER, and by 8 a.m., less than an hour after my stroke, I had been given an injection of TPA, a clot-busting enzyme. How did I know that I was having a stroke? Well, my balance was off, my face was drooping, my arms, my hand, and my leg were all weak, and my speech was slurred. I checked off almost every box on the Be Fast warning list. Just a quick review of what those are. B is for balance and coordination. E is for eyes and vision. F is for face drooping. A is for arm, hand, or leg weakness. S is for slurred or garbled speech. And T is for time to the ER. You should be checked out even if you have a single one of these warning signs. Problems with balance, vision, face droop, arm weakness, or slurred speech. This is a video taken 2 weeks after my stroke of me unable to catch a blue tennis ball thrown 4 inches into the air. This video was a sobering reminder of how close I came to being permanently disabled. Every time I visit the Stanford Neurology Clinic, I see people who did not go to the ER. They didn't have time to be checked from their busy schedule. They didn't want to bother anyone, or they wanted to wait to see if the symptoms would go away by themselves. You don't want to wait. A stroke can leave you unable to speak, unable to work. Your spouse might have to quit their job. Care expenses can exceed $100,000 a year. Time matters. Time is brain. You want to get to the ER and be assessed by a medical professional as quickly as possible. Don't drive yourself. Call 911. Don't go to urgent care. Most urgent care facilities will just send you to the ER. If you think you might be having a stroke, you get to cut in line. When you pull up to the curb at the ER, roll down the window and scream, "I'm having a stroke," or "I think my colleague is having a stroke." They should see you immediately. And if they don't, keep repeating it. Brain cells die during a stroke. Every minute counts. Don't let your memories or your smile or your ability to walk or your ability to talk or the ability to use your hands slip away because you're too polite. A medical professional should immediately give you a quick stroke assessment, usually checking your smile, your eyes, your speech, your grip, your balance, and your face, and then send you for a scan. And if there's a blood clot in your brain, as there are in about 90% of strokes, you typically will be injected with a clot-busting drug. 47 minutes after my stroke, I was given TPA. I was still in the scanner. Minutes really matter. Now, if you're having a brain bleed or a TIA or something else, it will play out a bit differently. My wife's observation, I could see your smile returning, your face droop disappearing as the TPA dissolved the clot. It was that fast. It was that miraculous. But only if you get to the ER quickly. Most people wait far, far too long. 2 days later, I went home in a wheelchair and a walker. During the first week, I went to my daughter's graduation in a wheelchair, and I started physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy. The first year, I had a mix of over 40 sessions of speech, occupational, and physical therapy. My function continued to improve over 4 years. Not as fast as the first 90 days or 6 months, but I was able to regain my ability to walk, to drive, to swim, and to bicycle. I continued producing podcasts. For 4 years, I did not know that I could cut my risk of a repeat stroke just by eating more fruit, more vegetables, and less salt. The book, How Not to Die, changed my life. I learned that 90% of strokes and heart attacks are preventable. And I learned about the many easy things that I could do to avoid a stroke, dementia, heart attack, diabetes, and cancer. Today, I eat a very different diet, more diverse, more exciting diet, more plant-centered. Today, my blood looks very different. My LDL, my bad cholesterol, is at 55. Pre-stroke, it was at 123. Optimal is below 70. I would like to live for another few decades. And because I would like you to be a part of that journey, I encourage you to do 3 things. Get your LDL below 70, get How Not to Die or the audio book, and listen to just 3 chapters, the chapters on heart disease, breast cancer, and prostate cancer. And share this story with those that you love. 2 more things that you can do to lower your cholesterol and help prevent heart attacks, strokes, and dementia. 1 are statin pills, Lipitor, Crestor, etc. They're cheap. And the other is you can improve your diet. And there are surprisingly easy changes that can add years to your life. More fruits, more berries, more greens, nuts, beans, veggies, and whole grains. And less salt, less processed meat, saturated fat, butter, eggs, sugar, fast food, and junk. Some additional ways you can lower your cholesterol are the new PCSK9 inhibitors. These are the cholesterol-lowering shots that can be expensive, but they're very effective. GLP-1 weight loss drugs that are so much in the news, or bariatric surgery. My recommendation, and I'm not a medical professional, but my recommendation, if your LDL is above 70, modify your diet. Be tested every 90 days until you get it down below 70. And if your LDL stays above 70, talk with your doctor about a statin. And if a diet and statin doesn't get you below 70, consider the PCSK9 shots or the GLP-1 weight loss or the bariatric surgery. I was shocked when I saw images of veins with plaque buildup in brains of people who ate high-fat diets like I did. When I saw the images, I stopped eating deep-fried food. I went cold turkey one day, saw the pictures, and I stopped eating deep-fried foods. Within weeks of changing my diet, I noticed I was less anxious and I had better reaction time. Perhaps it was all in my mind. Now I focus on 3 numbers during my annual physical: keeping my blood sugar, my A1C, the 90-day blood sugar average, below 5.7, my LDL, cholesterol, bad cholesterol, under 70, and my blood pressure below 117. For optimal health, because I want to attend my grandchildren's weddings. So there are a number of proven programs out there that can prevent you having to spend a lifetime on drugs or have surgery. I was never told. Many people don't know about these options. One of the most famous is the Cleveland Clinic's Heart Disease Reversal Program. $1,200, not paid by insurance. I would certainly check it out before I had elective heart surgery. Then right here in Marin County, Dr. Ornish's program for reversing heart disease. That program you can take online. Insurance does, many insurance programs do pay for it, and it has better outcomes than drugs or surgery in many instances. 2 programs that I did discover, and they did change my life. One from Better Health, BETR Health. Blue Shield's Medicare supplement paid for it. I lost 30 pounds. My wife and I did it together. And Dr. Michael Greger's book. It was life-changing. A 1-page meal plan. There are green light foods, there are yellow light foods, and there are red light foods. There's an app, free, no in-app purchases. Takes a minute a day, maybe 2, to fill it out. And the book, of course, is How Not to Die. If you or a family member has heart disease, hypertension, diabetes, cancer, or brain disease, read the corresponding chapter in How Not to Die. And if you have a family member who suffers from depression or schizophrenia, please listen to the new Zoe podcast, that's ZOE, and it's called How Food Can Improve Your Mood. It was an eye-opening podcast for me. It's never too late to change. I think the evidence shows that for the vast majority of American adults, people that have grown up on the American diet, optimal health requires blood sugar, A1C under 5.7, LDL under 70, and blood pressure below 117. Many medical professionals are comfortable with higher numbers. Work with your doctor. I'm not a medical professional, but I had a stroke, and I've learned a lot of things since then. Take action. Dr. Michael Greger's book, its app, and the red light, green light foods is the easiest with its focus on improvement and not perfection. And it's free. Better Health is a more structured program. Insurance may cover it. And it's a great way to switch from processed foods to lifelong healthier eating and to lose weight along the way. For people with heart disease, the $1,200 one-day program at the Cleveland Clinic or the Ornish online program are both structured and very demanding, but they have a long track record of saving lives. Both the Cleveland Clinic and the Ornish program have brought people back from the brink of death. Several of these programs have also helped with diabetes, some dementias, and some cancers. And if none of these work for you, there are other options, including drugs and surgery. Work with your doctor. You can do this. I would like to live another few decades, and because I would like you to be part of that journey, I encourage you to take action if your numbers are high. You don't want to wake up one morning unable to use half of your body, or unable to talk, or unable to read. So I've linked these, there's a link to these slides in the notes. And if your club or organization would like to hear this message, I would be happy to present it. Back to you, Rushton.
Wow, Elton, a powerful, powerful story. Thank you very much for that. I'm going to introduce the group that we've got on the recording real quick. So when I call your name, please wave at the camera from our club in Eastern Italy. Cecilia Babkirk, our treasurer. Here in the Bay Area, we have Sandy Stabile. We have Lisa Axelrod up in Vancouver. We have Nick Lagarde. And visiting us from Budapest, Hungary, is Victoria Grieshmoller. So let's start into this. Elton, first of all, just as a point of clarity, you are not connected in any way to these things that you recommend. You are getting no particular financial compensation for this. This is you just saying, "Oh my God, this really helped me."
No, I'm not on the payroll of Big Pharma, and nutritionfacts.org, which is the parent organization that publishes Michael Greger's work, is a nonprofit and doesn't take money from any corporate entities.
Better to say so and not need to than to need to and not say so. Good idea. So, you talk about a number of different things here that are really important for people. I love the simplicity of the way you've structured the message, right? The Be Fast piece, the LDL piece, right? When talking about nutrition as a function of health, in the How Not to Die book, there you talk about like green, yellow, and red light foods. I'll note to people who are listening to this podcast or watching this video that in the notes on the page where you find this, there is a list of the yellow light, red light, green light foods. We have a link to that as well. But Elton, talk a little bit about the red light foods. What are the things that just, even if they taste good, just never eat those?
Yeah, so there's the nutrition area has come a long way in the last few decades from at least when I took high school biology. And it really started with a groundbreaking study, often called the China study, but it was the China Oxford something or other study, where they looked at health outcomes and diets of people in urban areas and in rural areas in China and around the world. And they noticed a 10 to 100 times difference in the occurrence of strokes, heart attacks, and various cancers. So these were in China and in a number of countries, these were identical genetic populations. They weren't, it wasn't like the Japanese got fewer cases of breast cancer because something is unique about the Japanese. They have breast cancer just like Americans when they moved to America. This clearly had something to do with an environmental factor, and it was the diet. And the diets that have become collectively sort of informally known as the blue zone diets, why they're called that is, kind of one of those artifacts of history. They all get no more than 5% of their nutrition from animal products. So every place in the world where people don't have strokes, don't have heart attacks, have very low incidence of cancer, what the single thing they all have in common is a very small percentage. And 5% seems to be about this sort of the magic point for healthy people who 5% is 1/20th. And most of us in the West, we eat 21 meals a week. So it's very simple. one meal a week, you can have an animal product and about 3 or 4 ounces, not a 16-ounce steak. And the other 20 meals should have other stuff in them. It doesn't matter all that much whether it's beans, berries, fruits. It matters a little. Diversity is better, but the tamping down of animal fat and animal protein from eggs, from dairy, from fish, from chicken, from beef. So the worst offenders are processed meats. So the sausage and all those ones that have been, all processed meats are apparently bad. Butter and eggs are probably close behind it. The best of the lot is probably non-fat yogurt, but now the plant yogurts, the cashew yogurts and the other plant yogurts are as good or better than the cow yogurt. So there really isn't even a reason to have them in a diet.
So as a guy who goes to Las Cazuelas and orders pork chile verde, that's hard to hear. However, point well taken. So the animal products, one piece. Fruit and vegetables, I think people tend to know. I mean, like people just know that vegetarian diets are healthy. Talk a little bit about salt. People tend to know that more salt is not a good thing, but what's the issue with salt?
So salt has 2 or 3 issues. One is it causes high blood pressure, and high blood pressure is not good. It's not good for strokes. It's not good for heart attacks. It's not good for your blood. It is associated with numerous chronic diseases, but independent of high blood pressure. So if you look at you do matched pair studies where you find people with the same blood pressure, one eats salt and the other doesn't use salt. The person who uses salt is not as healthy. They are more likely to have a stroke or heart attack or another chronic disease. And the mechanism for that, I do not know off the top of my head, and we could ask Perplexity and it would tell us. So I encourage you to do that. But the other thing that's noteworthy, and the reason that it's easy, these salt substitutes are really good. Morton makes 2, a 50-50 mix and a 0 salt. I use the 0 salt mix and it's great. I can't tell the difference. Some people can. And then there's something called blue salt, which is an 80-20 mix. So it's 80% salt and 20% potassium. And even that little switch shows up in the longevity numbers. So if you do nothing else, switch to blue salt. But I'd encourage you to go further and go with the Morton's 50-50 or the 0 salt. They're Safeway, every store has them.
Let's stay on diet for a minute. Talk about how people get protein. This was a great question in the chat from Lisa. If you're not having like meat, what are the best sources of protein?
I asked my favorite AI engine. I told it everything I eat, and I asked it to rank it by the protein content, and then create a picture. So this is the list with its ranking of where I get my protein from. I get about twice as much protein in my diet as the guidelines call for. So I'm not a poster child for the right amount of protein, but this gives you a sense of the diversity. Tempeh, which is fermented soybeans. Some of you have never had it. I just chop it up and add it to salad. Sprouted tofu, red lentils, which I like because you don't have to soak them and they don't cause as much gas as other things. Chunky peanut butter, Dave's whole wheat bread, cashew yogurt, hummus, and plant milk. So easy to get a lot of protein now with all the products that are on the market.
So very good news that hummus and chunky peanut butter are on that list, I may say.
Yeah.
The experience itself of the stroke. So can you kind of summarize how long, you got attention quickly. I mean, it is very clear from your presentation that the speed with which you were able to get to a doctor was a key piece of this. Even so, how long, in summary, would you say it took you to recover?
And it was 6 months, I think, before I felt comfortable driving. I started bicycle riding in the first year, but interestingly enough, my bike riding, which is the easiest way for me to judge coordination, in a car, you don't really need to be that coordinated. Bike riding now, particularly with all the young people on the electric bikes and electric scooters scooting around and cutting in front of you, you've really got to be on your game if you're out there. And so if your reaction time is slow or, you just notice it. So that continued to improve for 4 years. And then it took a market upturn when I cut meat and animal products out of my diet. Like within 2 weeks, not only was I less anxious, but I could really notice a difference when I was biking around town. I was more nimble.
Wow. So I think we've got time for one more question, and I'm going to frame it in the con. By the way, thanks to Victoria for the previous question. I want to frame the next question in the context of what we do in our club. Our club's different. Our programs are recorded. They are YouTube videos. They are, thanks to you, they are podcasts, and they are stories. They are stories that we seek to tell others. We want the presentations that happen in our club to serve the efforts of the speakers. So in thinking about being in this club, at some point along the way, you thought to yourself, I should do a program about my stroke. And in doing that, you are essentially serving the people who need to hear it. And we are serving you by creating a platform and a set of recordings that support that. Can you talk a little bit about your experience with the club and with podcasts and with our stories that informed your decision to say, I'd be willing to do this presentation?
I'd been a Rotarian for 20 years before I joined this club. And one of the things that had bothered me from very early on was how many great presentations a room full of people heard, and then they disappeared into the ether. And I could tell that some of these people had put a lot of effort into preparing a presentation for Rotary. It just struck me, it's all, I don't want to say criminal, but it felt sort of negligent to be the recipient of this knowledge and then walk out of a breakfast meeting and like it all disappeared. And so when I found this club, I got very excited because what are we at 500? We're over 500. Yeah, meetings out there. And I knew that they would also podcast well, and that there were a lot of people who wouldn't sit down and watch a video for 30 minutes, but who looked for 30-minute podcasts while they were running, while they were commuting, while they were gardening, while they're doing their dishes, whatever, folding laundry. And that there are a lot of stories here that should be captured. They were already being told, but they needed to be distributed more. And so I was very excited about it.
Well, we, my friend, are excited that you are a part of this club. Thank you. And to all of you who are listening to this podcast or watching this video, thank you for spending your time to hear the stories that we get to share. It is a joy that we have that we can serve speakers all over the world, people who are involved in all kinds of wonderful and interesting things, and help them tell those stories. You can help by sharing the stories you encounter. If you like what you hear, share them. Let someone know, hey, I heard this cool story. Hey, I watched this great video. If you don't feel that way, that's okay. There are other ways to get inspired, and there are lots of different kinds of Rotary clubs out there. We hope you'll take a look. You can learn more about Rotary at rotary.org and more about our club at rotary.cool. As we always like to do, we hand it back to our speaker for the final word. Elton, what would you like people to have clearly in mind as they finish this podcast or video?
If you think you might be having a stroke, go immediately to the ER. Don't wait to see if your symptoms go away. And secondly, get your bad cholesterol, your LDL, below 70. Take out your phone right now and look up the results of your last blood test. And if your LDL is above 70, install the Daily Dozen app on your phone, read 3 chapters in How Not to Die, and change your diet. And then, in 90 days, get tested again. And if your LDL is still above 70, make an appointment with your doctor and develop a plan to get your LDL down below 70.
And regularly inspire yourself with wonderful messages like these. Thank you again. We will see you next week.